love yours. No such thing. No such thing as a life that's better than yours.
What is up, you guys? Have you always wanted to make these magnetic bookmarks? I know this past week I have, so come along with me while we make them start to finish. Pause the screen here, take a screenshot. This is your shopping list. We are going to start with uploading your images. I purchased these from an artist on Etsy that I will link below. So you just want to add them to your canvas. These are all PNG files, so once you add them all to the canvas, it's going to be pretty large. So I'm just separating them so I can see what all I added to the canvas, and then I'm going to resize them and add the offset in the next screen. So the point of creating an offset, as you see that I'm doing in the background here, is so that it has something to cut around. If you don't add an offset, the Cricut is just going to try and intricately cut all those little details that you have. By adding an offset, it's just an easy way to add a border around your image so that it's something easy for your machine, whether you have a Cricut, a Silhouette, whatever cutting machine you have. This is going to allow you to be able to cut it easily. You'll see that I'm changing the offset color to white because when you create an offset, it does automatically default to black or like a dark gray. You can really choose whatever color you want. I just want it white so that it doesn't take away from the design. So how do you actually create an offset? You're going to upload whatever image you want. Once that uploads, you're going to hit the offset button. The offset button is going to let you choose what width you want it to be. I change it to white, then you're going to flatten your image. These are all too big for the bookmarks, so let's resize them. You have to remember it's going to be double because you're going to have the front and the back. So I'm making mine around 2.5 to 3.5 inches. You can choose however you want them to be, whatever size you want them to be, but that's what seemed to work for me. You have to remember it's going to be double the size though. You're just going to repeat this step with resizing them whatever size you want until you're done with all of your images that you want to make the bookmarks with. There's no specific size that you want to do. I kind of just eyeballed it. I said I wanted the bookmarks to be, when they were completely spread out, at least like 7.5 to 8 inches. That way it's big enough for you to see the detail, but not too big that it's taking up the whole page. Let's talk about shaping. What do I mean when I say front and back? So basically, there's going to be 2 of each image that you make. You want to be able to connect them together, so you're going to create a small square by adding a square shape. You're going to make it 0.5 by 1 inch, and you're going to change it to whatever color you made the offset. You're going to duplicate your image, but you're going to flip the image so that they're facing each other, so that when it folds onto one another, they're going to line up accurately. Now you want that square that you made and those 2 offsets of each image to be one complete image. So you're going to highlight all of them, you're going to either unite or weld them, and you're going to send it to the back so that your pretty image shows on top so that you can line them up. There's many ways you can line them up, but I chose to just kind of eyeball it, and then I centered it with the centering and alignment tool. You're going to then flatten that image. Let's talk about print and cut. With Cricut, you are limited to what size you can use for print and cut. So the maximum size you can do is 6.75 by 9.25. There is a beta version where you can print larger, but I'm not getting into that. So we're just going to keep it at the basics of what you can do. I do a little cheat sheet so that I can fit the maximum amount of images and use the least amount of paper. So I just create a simple square and I make it the same width the 6.75 by 9.25. And then I kind of just line up my images. I rotate them as needed so that I can fit as many images on one sheet of paper. Especially when you're using like sticker paper or vinyl, those things can get expensive. They're not as expensive as the cardstock that we're using, but it's still a good habit to keep. So you're just going to repeat this step until you basically are able to fit all your images onto the sheets. Some of them I did have to resize just to make them fit. That's okay as well. Once you have each sheet ready, make sure you flatten, and then you're ready to send it to the printer. Let's talk about laminating. These laminating holographic sheets I got from TechWrap. I will add the link below. Make sure to use my code for money off. Each of the laminating sheets have a different design on them, so here I'm just laying them out and deciding which ones I want them to be on. Here is where it gets tricky. This was a lot of trial and error for me. So here you see me cutting them just shorter than what those black lines are. But you will see why that does not actually work. But this is the same layout that you want to use and how you actually want to lay the laminating sheets on there. I line up the bottom so that I make sure it's not crooked. You're going to peel away the backing, and then you're going to kind of go piece by piece. Use your little squeegee tool to lay it on there. You don't want any air bubbles. You don't want any wrinkles. You do not want to lose these sheets by messing them up. I do suggest that you do it just how I'm doing it in this video. If you try to peel away the backing completely and just lay the laminating sheet on there, once it sticks to your image and you try to lift it up, it's going to rip it because we're just using paper. Trial and error. Oh my goodness, did I have some errors. So those black lines that you see are the registration marks for the Cricut. There's a little light that the Cricut machine reads to be able to cut your image properly. Because the laminating sheets are holographic and it adds a glare that the machine cannot read, it caused my cuts to come out absolutely crazy. I wasted like 3 to 5 sheets of it. It was a mess. This was one sheet that messed up. You can see how close the holographic laminating sheet is to the black registration lines. It's too close for it to read. When I hold it up to the light, you can see how the machine actually cut it. It's completely off. This is not what you want. So I ended up calibrating the machine again. That just kind of tells the machine how I want it to cut, make sure everything is cutting correctly, that it's reading the registration marks properly. Once I did that, and then I cut the corners where the black registration lines were, as you see here, it cut it out perfectly. Now the fun part, let's put it all together. So here they are, all cut out. I am just kind of looking them over, making sure there's no defects, making sure the Cricut cut it correctly, making sure that the laminate sheets are on there properly. You are going to fold them over. That is why we added that little square to be able to have it hang over the page front and back. I have these magnets that I got from Hobby Lobby. They were $1.99 for 24, but it's going to get you 12 bookmarks because you're going to use 2 magnets per bookmark. You're going to put one on the front and one on the back. Make sure you're using the right sides. Make sure the magnets actually stick together. Make sure they're the right polar sides that you're using. Don't make the mistake like I did. Look at these beauties in the sun. I love the holographic. I love how they shine, how they glimmer. They're so cute. I need all the books to read at this point. Just look at that shimmer. No filter either. So let's talk about making the display cards if you want to sell these. I am adding the rounded corner square. I'm making it about 4.5 inches, and I'm changing the color to white. You're going to add whatever title you want. I'm just simply naming it Magnetic Bookmarks. We're keeping it simple. Change it to whatever font you want. I like Autumn Display that I got off of Creative Fabrica. I'm decreasing the line spacing because I want as much of my logo, I want as much of the wording, and as much of the bookmark to show. We're keeping this sweet, simple, that's it. I'm creating another kind of long square because that is what the bookmark is going to kind of slip into, so that the front can show on one side of the card and the back hangs over the other side of the card. I'm adding my logo in there because I'm going to put it in the top corner, and then you're going to see me just changing the colors of the wording, adding an offset to the wording. You can really make this however you want, make it as fun as you want. This is your marketing tool to be able to get customers to buy more stuff, go to your website, go to your social media, whatever you want them to link back to. So I'm just typing my website and my social media handles, and then I'm going to add in like the Instagram logo, my TikTok logo, all of that. I like to make it simple and make all of my social media the same kind of username, so that once you see that, you know, any social media you go on, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to use print then cut for this also to be able to cut these out so that it's exactly the size that we want. So you're going to see me add another blank square. You're going to make it 6.75 by 9.25 inches after you flatten your image, because you want the Cricut to read it as one image, not multiple different images. I was pretty much only able to add 2 of the display cards per sheet, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to do that. I want it to be able to cut it exactly the size that I want, so we'll make it work. I bought 2 packs of those magnets just to see how I liked how they turned out. So I'm actually going to make 24 display cards total, but you are going to kind of multiply the images for however many you're making. You can make them in bulk, you can make exactly how many you want. It is totally up to you. When you are done making everything, you're going to send it to your printer. As always, my settings remain the same no matter if I'm using my sublimation printer or my regular printer. You are going to choose Premium Presentation Paper Matte, and then you're going to change the quality to high quality. That is what gives me the best settings, and you'll see it in just a second. Once you end up printing, I always add bleed. That way, if the Cricut does cut it a little bit, it's not going to completely mess up your image. And I always print using System Dialog. That's how I'm able to add those custom settings of the Premium Presentation Paper Matte and then high quality. Once they all print out, you're going to add them onto your Cricut mat and upload them to the machine. You're going to let it cut out. There were no issues with the print and cut on this because the machine was able to clearly read the black registration marks as you see here. Once it does read the registration marks and it finally does cut them, you're going to kind of repeat this and place each paper on your mat until you have all the display cards cut out. I ended up having 12 different sheets because I wanted 24 of the display cards total, but the number is going to change depending on how many you're printing out and how many you want to make. Once it's done cutting out, you're going to peel your mat away from the paper so that it doesn't create any bends or creases in your display cards. Once you cut out all your display cards, you're able to either take pictures first and then add them to the display cards, or add them to the display cards and then take your pictures. It's up to you, but enjoy your work and make sure you tag me if you make these.
It's beauty in the struggle, yeah. It's beauty in the struggle, ugliness in the success. Hear my words and listen to my signal of distress. I grew up in the city and know sometimes we had less. Compared to some of my niggas down the block, man, we were blessed. And life can't be